Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to Team APS, Paul here. So, today I wanted to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure decks and how I think Konami could improve them for new and competitive players. So let me get this out of the way first. I think that structure decks recently have actually been really good. Obviously, we recently got the Soulburner structure deck, and that's of course very strong. It's made a huge impact in the competitive scene. But even before then, we've gotten a handful of really great structure decks last year. Zombie Horde, for instance, had a really great boss monster that really improves the zombie strategy. We got Lair of Darkness, which was extremely popular. It gave us Darkest Diabolos, it gave us Lilith. These are cards that are actually still teched into various decks today. And we're about to get the Spellcasters structure deck, the Endymion one, that uses spell counters and pendulum monsters. And that's gonna probably be insane. It actually looks like it might have a chance at being like a competitive deck in the game, which is crazy to think about, but it wouldn't be the first time for a structure deck, right? Now, with that said, Konami's done a good job there. These are good structure decks and they're worth the money. They're worth picking up 3 copies of. The things that I would like to add though would help to improve the value of structure decks even more by making them just better values for new players in particular. So, 3 improvements. Improvement number 1. I think that structure decks should actually include a full extra deck. Now, this is an idea that I got from Legendary Hero decks last year. Legendary Hero decks, it's the one that included, I believe it was Nordics, Phantom Knights, and Destiny Heroes. So that was cool to me because those decks included a 10 card extra deck. Ideally, this could be 15, but 10 is also fine. Instead of just having a structure deck give you maybe the 1 or 2 extra deck monsters that go along with the strategy, it'd be cool to kind of give you, use the opportunity to introduce players to the extra deck as more of a toolbox, right? So perhaps a common structure deck these days might include Nightmare Cerberus or Nightmare Phoenix. You know, just 2 of the basic Nightmare monsters. They have good effects that are useful for removal and maybe giving you some specific arrows that point in a direction that you need. So you're getting introduced to link monsters, you're getting introduced to monsters that can out annoying things in the field, spells, traps, monsters, whatever. And you're also just getting introduced to cards that don't necessarily align with your deck's strategy perfectly, but can still be really helpful. And I think right now we have enough link monsters in the game that this could be a great opportunity to introduce a load of them. I mean, obviously, Lenphalinkus and stuff like that, Traffic Ghost, those are good ones. You could also give people access to Topologic Trasbana for dealing with back row cards, Link Karibo if your deck has a prominent level 1, Decode Talker, maybe even some of the Borals, here in a few months. Like, I know that they're still really big cards, but that'd be really cool. New players would be able to use their extra deck as just a tool and like a toolkit. And it wouldn't just be like, okay, you have the hero structure deck, get out your Dark Law, and that's like all you know how to do. So players will learn that they can use the extra deck for a lot of different things, and I think that'd be a good thing. It would be a great opportunity to reprint stuff. There are a lot of cards that need reprints, and so this is a good way to do it. But it also is like a little bit deceptive to me to introduce these structure decks and then players are kind of required, if you want to compete, to get more expensive cards on their own. Why not just use this as an opportunity to kind of include all of it? So, the second suggestion is I think that the structure decks should include side decks. I've actually heard some other YouTubers suggest this in the past, and I think it's a really great idea. Imagine a structure deck that gave you a basic side deck. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, right? You don't have to reprint the most expensive cards like Phantasme or something, though it would be nice. But giving players access to basic, versatile side deck cards like, say, Twin Twisters or Red Reboot for dealing with back row heavy decks. You could also, add in something like, Kaijus for dealing with a troublesome boss monster. That would be a really good one. Maybe Shared Ride, your opponent's deck searches a lot. Well, now you have access to Shared Ride. You can deal with it pretty easily. You could even start like veering on the extremes, give people evenly matched, give them infinite impermanence, give them some hand traps. But you don't have to, but I just think that all in all, it would be great because there are a lot of new players who A, don't actually know what a side deck is, and B, have no idea how to use one. So of course, that's something that you can include in the instruction booklet that comes with the structure deck. Here are some side deck cards, here are some general times you'd want to use them, and here are maybe some cards that you could side out of your main deck because they won't be useful in certain matchups. Now, of course, you can't cover everything, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like ever-changing, so it's impossible to tell people, here's exactly what to take out, and here's exactly what to put in for all of these specific times. But it would be a great way to get people on the right track. And I think that starter decks are meant to teach you how to play the game, and structure decks are kind of meant to teach you how to kind of come together with a strategy and maybe start trying to like win more consistently. This would be a really great way to start. I just think that players don't really know what side decking is when they're new to the game, and Konami doesn't always do the best job of explaining it. So having it in a structure deck would be great. So now we've got a structure deck that includes not only an extra deck, but also a side deck. The last suggestion, and this is one that I feel may, it would be a little bit harder to do because I think that it would make structure decks probably cost more, is Konami should include a playmat and sleeves with every extra deck. Now, this is a bit of a stretch goal. I wouldn't be surprised if this could like just, I don't know, right? Because if you include a playmat, and I'm not talking about the paper playmat, I'm talking about like an actual rubber playmat, maybe a small size one, like the ones that came with the battle pack sets, for instance. Just a playmat that's rubber, so it's not, kids getting their paper mat that, let's face it, isn't conducive to playing on. It just rips and tears and it's awful. Those same designs that are oftentimes really cool could just be made into a normal zoned playmat, and yeah, just include it. The real thing with the whole playmat situation is A, you don't want people's cards getting messed up, so that's why you need to have sleeves, and the mat helps with that too. And then B, when I go to locals, I see a lot of kids who just straight up don't have playmats and don't have access to them. Konami's started selling a few playmats in stores recently. I remember a few years ago, there were like the Chibi playmats. Most recently, there's like that Yu-Gi-Oh! Gold Anniversary Duelist playmat. But those are actually kind of like hard to find. Like sometimes you'll occasionally spot them in a Walmart or a Target, or maybe they're at your OTS store, maybe you don't have an OTS store, so it can be hard to get them. But I think that including these in a structure deck would be really awesome. And then sleeves, of course, is just a given. In a perfect world, Konami wouldn't include those cheap, crappy, like, sleeves that are all reflective and like tear really easily. But I get it, if you have to put them in every structure deck box, then, costs have to be cut somewhere. So, but I think including these two things is actually a really big step in getting players to know how to take care of their cards and just getting them more into the competitive game. I don't know. I mean, zones matter a lot, so players shouldn't have to use a paper mat that's going to tear up in a few days and then have to just kind of deal with where zones are supposed to go. I mean, zones and columns make a difference, so give them an actual playmat that works. Yes, the packaging would be a little bit bigger, and these would probably cost like at least $20. So maybe that could be like an option, right? Like a structure deck that includes that stuff, and then maybe just a structure deck that's just the cards. If you're one of the types of people who just wants to buy like your 3 Salamangreat structure, you don't want to have 3 loose mats sitting around, then yes, maybe offer the option. But either way, I think that these would be great additions, all 3 of these things. So recap then, structure deck should include a full extra deck, not just the isolated strategy that the structure deck is trying to summon, but also just good general all-purpose outs and combo cards. B, structure deck should include side decks, because this will help players learn A, what side decking is, how to do it, and they'll be able to do it straight out of their structure deck without having to be asked to get more and more and more cards that they don't really know about. And then finally, I think that structure decks should have sleeves, and structure decks should have playmats. All right, let me know what you guys think about this idea. I think it'd be really cool. I don't think it's something that's like immediately gonna happen or anything, but maybe some random Konami employee will watch this video and take note, and perhaps it's something they can look at doing in the future. Or how else could they improve structure decks? I would like to know. So leave your suggestions and your thoughts down in the comments. I'll be reading and responding, and it's gonna be it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Pass turn.